As I stood before the worn, cedar-shingled facade of my childhood home, a shiver tracing the length of my spine seemed almost an exaggeration. The sense of foreboding had been building for so long now that it felt almost like a part of me. The trees surrounding the house, once green and verdant with life, now stood as skeletal sentinels, their branches tangled in a macabre dance against the pale blue sky. The windows, like empty eyes staring back at me, seemed to absorb what little light managed to seep through their cracked panes, leaving only an impression of hollows where warmth and laughter had once thrummed. As I stepped across the threshold, the air clung to me like a damp shroud, heavy with the scent of overripe fruit and stale bread. It was a smell that reminded me of autumn mornings, when the world seemed to hold its breath in anticipation of winter's chill. But this was no seasonal decay, it was something older, something born of neglect and abandonment. I could feel the weight of years pressing down upon me, the cumulative effect of forgetting and fade. Every step echoed through the stillness like a betrayal, as if the very silence itself was watching me with an unblinking gaze. The floors creaked beneath my feet, releasing a faint tremble that seemed to vibrate through every cell in my body. And then I saw it, the old rocking chair swaying gently in the silence, its motion a slow and mournful serenade that seemed to be calling me towards it. As I stood frozen in the doorway, my mind still reeling from the sight before me, time seemed to slow and stretch out like a languid river, its surface reflecting the pale light of the afternoon. The air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and forgotten seasons, memories long buried beneath the weight of years. My thoughts grew distant, carried away on the currents of a forgotten language, leaving only echoes in their wake. It was as if I had stumbled into a place where time itself had grown brittle and fragile, where every movement seemed to shatter like crystal underfoot, and yet, with every step forward, I felt myself being drawn inexorably towards that chair, its presence a steady heartbeat in the silence, pulsing with a slow and mournful rhythm that spoke of patience, of waiting, of some unseen purpose that only it could understand. As I stand, frozen in that chair's gaze, the hours begin to unspool like faded photographs, fragments of a life lived eons ago. My mother's smile, captured on a summer afternoon, her laughter echoing down the stairs, the soft scent of fresh laundry wafting from the dryer. The memories seep into me, a slow rising tide, carrying with it the weight of what I've lost. I feel my chest constrict, as if the air is growing thinner, harder to breathe. My mind begins to wander, tracing the lines of a path I once knew but can no longer recall. The creaks and groans of the old house seem to grow louder, like the whispered secrets of strangers in a foreign land. Night falls outside, casting long shadows that twist and writhe upon the walls, as if trying to escape the confines of this room. I sense a presence, not quite visible, yet palpable as the skin on the back of my neck. It's as if something or someone is stirring, waiting for me to remember. As I stand here, the air thickens, heavy with an unspoken expectation. The creaks and groans of the old house seem to take on a more ominous tone, like the sighs of some patient entity waiting for me to uncover its secrets. Every step I take echoes through the silence, making me feel like I'm intruding upon a private vigil. I try to shake off the feeling, telling myself it's just my imagination playing tricks on me, but the sensation persists, like a gentle hum in the background of my mind. I sense eyes upon me, though there's no one in sight. The weight of my mother's presence settles upon me, pressing down upon my shoulders. Her voice is not in my ear, yet I swear to hear the soft whisper of her name, calling out to me from beyond the veil of memory. As I step across the threshold, the air thickens around me, heavy with the scent of old wood and forgotten years. The silence is oppressive, a physical presence that weighs upon my chest. I breathe in deeply, and the faint tang of damp earth rises to meet me, like a whispered secret from the past. My footsteps echo through the stillness, each one a small rebellion against the suffocating quiet. I begin to move cautiously down the hallway, my eyes scanning the familiar contours of the room, and yet something is out of place. A vase sits on the table, its once vibrant flowers now wilting and grey, as if the colour had been drained from them. The bookcase seems to have shifted slightly, one of the novels I remember sealing before sitting askew at an awkward angle. It's a small, almost imperceptible disturbance, but it's enough to make my skin prickle with unease. I push aside the stacks of old photographs and dusty trinkets, allowing my gaze to settle on a small, leather-bound journal nestled between the pages of a faded photograph album. Its worn cover creaks as I open it, releasing a whisper of aged paper and forgotten memories. The yellowed pages reveal a flurry of cryptic notes, scribbled in hasty handwriting that seems almost urgent. A few sketches depict the rolling hills and trees that line our childhood path, yet these drawings feel disconnected from any narrative, hovering like ghostly silhouettes. As I delve deeper, my eyes strain to decipher the meanings behind each scrawled sentence. Beneath the windmill's watchful eye, where shadows dance with sunlight, the words evoke an unsettling stillness, as if time itself has grown heavy and oppressive within these pages. In the dim light of afternoon, the lines on the page begin to blur and run together, as if the ink itself is bleeding into a sea of forgotten memories. The air grows thick with the scent of old paper and wood smoke, transporting me back to the musty smell that used to envelop our home when I was younger. My hands, which had wandered across those yellowed pages just moments before, now hover above the journal as if reluctant to disturb the silence that has settled over me like a shroud. The words on the page begin to take shape once more. The day my daughter went to sleep and never woke. My heart quickens its pace, beating with a familiar yet foreign rhythm. It's been so long since I've allowed myself to think about her, so long since I've let those memories resurface. But now, it seems they're here to stay. A heaviness settles, like a blanket of fog, in the hollow of my chest. Every breath feels calculated, as if I'm siphoning air from a well that's already running dry. The silence between me and the house is palpable, a living thing that presses against my skin like a damp shroud. I try to speak, but my voice catches in my throat, refusing to emerge. It's been so long since I felt this way, yet the sensation is all too familiar. Like trying to recall a language I once spoke fluently, only to find it slipped from me forever. Memories that were always on the cusp of return now surge forward, uninvited and unwelcome. Faint outlines of faces appear in my mind, only to vanish as quickly as they materialized. Anger at their recapture stings, but I swallow hard against it, because I know what's coming. The more I try to grasp these recollections, the farther they retreat, like shadows retreating from a bright flame. The air inside me settles, a dull ache that I'd grown accustomed to over years. It's as if my body is trying to remind me of all the things I've been unable to recall. Flickers of life cling to this house like desperate fingers, grasping for purchase on walls once painted with color and vibrancy. Now the hues seem muted, a watercolor sunset that has lost its way. The very fabric of my existence begins to unravel, thread by thread, as memories I thought were long gone start to stir. They are whispers at first, fleeting images and half-remembered scents that bring more questions than answers. But with each passing moment, they grow louder, the echoes of laughter and footsteps in a hallway that's slowly disappearing into nothingness. What was once a home now feels like an empty, echoing chamber, its walls whispering secrets I've never been privy to. And I'm left alone, suspended between the past and what remains of my present. Thank you for listening. If this story found you in the dark, subscribe and turn on notifications. A new tale waits every night.